In medieval England, the brothel occupied a curious position, socially marginalised, morally condemned, yet economically protected and legally regulated. Nowhere was this contradiction more vivid than in Southwark, a district just south of London Bridge. This area became synonymous with sex work from the 12th century onwards, operating under ecclesiastical licence from the Bishop of Winchester, and developing a unique administrative structure. This video explores a typical day in a medieval English brothel, focusing on Southwark during the 14th and 15th centuries, and draws upon historical records, municipal laws, and archaeological evidence to illuminate the realities of sex work, gender, and governance in late medieval urban life. By the mid-14th century, Southwark had become the officially tolerated centre of prostitution in London, largely because it lay outside of the control of the City of London authorities. Instead, it was governed by the liberty of the Bishop of Winchester, whose palace stood in the heart of Southwark. The bishop and his officials oversaw the licensing of stews, bathhouses that doubled as brothels, and collected rents and fines from the brothel keepers. Hence, prostitutes operating in Southwark were often called Winchester Geese. In 1161, King Henry II issued the ordinance touching the government of the stewholders in Southwark, one of the earliest known examples of legal regulation of prostitution in England. The ordinances declared that no woman could work in the stews if she was married, and that stew owners were prohibited from keeping the women in debt bondage for more than 40 days. Moreover, prostitutes could not be forced to sleep in the same beds with others, and they were forbidden from working on Sundays, major holy days, or during Lent. Violations of these rules led to fines or loss of licences. Now, despite these efforts to impose order, court records from the Mayor's Court and the Bishop's Register reveal that infractions were common. And in 1372, a woman named Agnes Le Barber was brought before the court for working outside of Stuart's legal zone, thus operating clandestinely. Such cases suggest that prostitution was widespread and not limited to the officially sanctioned areas. Now, in a licensed Stuart stew, around 1380, the day began at sunrise and women were expected to clean the premises, sweep the rush-covered floors, change the bedding, typically straw or horsehair mattresses, and prepare for the day's clients. Hygiene, however, was minimal. Water was reused, soap was rare, and perfumes were often herbal infusions meant more to mask bodily odours than prevent diseases. Each brothel was run by a madam, often referred to as an abbess, a term loaded with ecclesiastical irony. The abbess managed the daily operations, enforced the rules, and paid dues to officials like the bishop's bailiff or stew reeves, who patrolled Stuart's stews to inspect behaviour and collect revenue. An entry into the Stuart Assize Rolls of 1385 notes that stew owners had to pay a licensing fee of 4d weekly and contribute to the cost of public watchmen, who ensured that fights, theft, or unlicensed trade did not disrupt the area. These payments acted as both taxation and protection money. As the day progressed, the stew houses opened for business. Men from all walks of life frequented them: riverboat men, craftsmen, pilgrims on their way to Canterbury, and even clergy, who, despite canological prohibitions, were often implicated in brothel scandals. The Register of the Bishop of Winchester, 1389, records multiple instances of clergics being caught frequenting stews. In one case, a chaplain named John de Sutton was fined after being found in the company of 2 prostitutes in Southwark in their stew on the eve of St. Peter's Day. Prices varied. A quick visit might cost a single penny, while extended company or exclusive attention could require several shillings. Sometimes clients developed long-term arrangements with particular women, often described in court records as common women in favour of a specific patron. Women in brothels had little autonomy. Many were indentured, in debt to the abbess for food, clothes or protection, and the case of Joanna Atwater in 1402, found in the bishop's register, describes a woman fined for attempting to leave a stew without repaying her lodging debt. Her belongings were confiscated until the debt was satisfied. Now, by evening, brothels became not just spaces for sexual labour, but also sites of entertainment and gambling. Ale was served, minstrels played, and dice or backgammon were common amusements. Archaeological digs in Southwark have uncovered dice made of bone and ale jugs bearing brewery marks, underscoring the stew's social dimensions. Yet these were incredibly dangerous spaces. The risk of violence was constant. The London's Coroner's Roll from 1320 to 1400 contains at least 6 cases of murders or fatal assaults in or near stews. In one, in 1391, a man named Stephen the Baker was stabbed to death in an altercation outside a Southwark stew house following a dispute over a prostitute's services. The spread of disease was another grim reality. Prior to the arrival of syphilis, or the Great Pox, in 1490s, women were vulnerable to gonorrhea, scabies and skin infections. From 1506, court records show multiple stews closed after outbreaks. Merciful salves, recommended by medieval physicians, did more harm than good, and few women had access to trained medical care. After midnight, the stews would wind down. Some women shared company with favoured clients, and others collapsed alone. Many slept in communal chambers, separated by curtains rather than walls. Theft, lice, and harassment were nightly threats. For a few, the brothel was a stepping stone to a financial independence. The London letter books include wills of several former prostitutes, such as Matilda de Argern, who died in 1399, who left coin and clothes to a local nunnery. However, most women died in poverty. Denied burial in consecrated ground, many were interred in Crossbones graveyard. Excavations in the 1990s revealed that many of those buried there were women aged between 16 and 30, with signs of malnutrition, joint disease, and blunt force trauma. Their anonymity is compounded by the absence of names in parish registers. The medieval English brothel was neither wholly hidden nor fully accepted. In places like Southwark, it became a regulated institution, protected by the church and policed by officials, yet populated by the most precarious members of society. Through the ordinances of Henry II, the inspections of the bishop's bailiffs, and the testimonies in legal rolls, we can piece together the daily routines, dangers, and small resistances of women who worked in the stews. Their lives complicate the conventional view of medieval society as monolithically moralistic. Instead, it was one in which sin was managed, taxed, and turned into spectacle, and where survival often required enduring the very institutions that condemned them. Thank you for watching, and to support our channel, please make sure to subscribe. And again, thank you so much for watching.